taking a critical look at the gaming news of the week. This is Augmented Reality, presented by the Triple S League.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Augmented Reality Podcast for May 26th, 2018. My name is Asheninity, powered by Pure Hype as always. Here, as usual, with Cyberpunk.
Hello, everyone.
Who is powered by some form of cold fusion. We've got a special guest with us today as well. We've got TezMMO. He's a Twitch streamer, MMO specialist, twitch.tv/TezMMO. That's TezMMO. Sorry, TezMMO.
Don't go showing your Canadian there, man.
Totally just inadvertently doxing myself here. How are you doing this morning, Tez?
I'm pretty good. Nice, beautiful morning in California here. So.
Absolutely. That's good. Oh, California. Awesome.
Yep.
Is it, how warm is it down
it's
there
only,
right
it's
now?
60s, 70s right now, but, you know, it'll get a little warmer definitely today.
Cool. Awesome. So we've got Tez on this morning because we are going to be spending some time talking about Bless Online, which comes live this week. It's the...
If you do the pre-order, the earliest access, the earlier you can access the game is on Monday. So this, and in some areas that'll be Sunday night, depending on where in the world you live. So yeah, and then we've got some other news that we'll talk about after we talk about this, including some Cyberpunk news. And what else we got?
We have some, I guess, some more news about E3, and we have some stuff about the PS5. So, all right. So if you are listening live today, please say hello in the live chat. Send us your questions and comments there as well. We'll read and respond to as many as we can today throughout the podcast. Super chats and questions from patrons and sponsors are guaranteed to be read out loud on today's show as long as they conform to the basic standards of human decency, as usual. And there's lots of activity in the chat already. Wow. Hello, Thomas, 88 Somi, Notional Worm, and Andres is confused about where he is and somehow came here by accident, I see, but welcome. We hope you enjoy the show. And 8 days, yes, this is Augmented Reality. So, and hello, and Tez is waving in chat as well. Excellent. So, all right, so we're going to start off right off the top here talking about Bless Online. So, Tez, if you could, maybe would you give us a basic introduction to what this MMO is and which aspects of it you're most looking forward to and what might set it apart from other games in the genre?
Sure. Well, I mean, Bless has been in the makings for a while now, and we all know, and this is nothing new to I guess the MMO industry here in the community in Bless, that it came out in Russia a while ago and didn't do too well, so they had to close down the Russian servers, which is when I played it actually.
Okay.
And wasn't the biggest fan of it, after playing it, and pretty much brushed it off. And here they've revamped and tell me, that hey, we got some new combat that's a little bit better. We've fixed a lot of the bugs that was in Russia, and you should come check it out. A couple friends did. I checked it out, and it actually was a substantial amount better than Russia servers. So I kept playing it, and surprisingly and pleasingly, I started enjoying the game after a couple levels, and I realized, wow, this is actually not a bad game. It's got a lot of, it's beautiful graphically. They've done a lot of nice things with the world environment. It's a huge world, by the way. I mean, I haven't seen a map this big in a long time in an MMO. So
yeah, it's massive.
Excellent.
You can cross like entire mountains on mounts and stuff like that. It seems to be just an absolutely massive map.
Yeah, it's and surprising. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but there's actually, if you scroll in on the map and then zoom up to areas that are kind of blank, they have names of the areas, but they don't have them filled in with like minor towns. Those are actually going to be, and this is something for the future, and I'm allowed to talk about this, so it's not under NDA. They do have plans to expand all of that area in a future content update that involves level 50. So this is something that's going to be,
Okay.
maybe not this year, but possibly in the next 6 months to a year and a half, that it'll have, all of those areas will start being filled in slowly. So that's going to be something. So that's, I think that's what they planned. They planned for this game to be here for a while, knowing that they're making the right moves right now, because they actually are. And that's one of the other things I love about this the game too, is that the company right now realizes the mistakes they've made, which many companies, think, okay, well, look, we've made some mistakes. We could probably pull another fast one over the community, right? Wrong.
Yeah,
These
EA.
guys are actually addressing it. Yeah, so I mean, they know, and they're like, well, we need to make sure that we're on walking on eggshells with these players, because we don't want for them to leave, and we've promised them certain things. So one of the things about NeoWiz is they have so far honored everything they have said that they would do, and they have listened to the community. They have removed things because of the community. Right now, they're I'm in the Blessed Emissary Discord, as are you guys, and we get to chat with the devs and put in questions, and we get our feedback that we get from the community, which is what we're supposed to do as an emissary. It's one of our main things, is we're supposed to take back all that feedback, constructively put it into a nice worded document, and then present it to the developers to possibly see if we can get some resolve on that. So
This is and I just want to interject here. This is one of these things that has drawn me to this game a little bit more, because if they had done something like like Soul Worker and some of these other games that have come out recently, Black Desert, where it's like the developers ship the game off to these publishers in these other countries, and then they just leave it with them, and then these publishers set up in some cases these absolutely atrocious $40 for a haircut kind of monetization, and
Yes.
and they just and they are interested in pulling fast ones, and they don't really care about the community, and then their forums are basically pointless. Like any forum for an Eastern game, an Eastern MMO on a Western publisher, you're never going to get any kind of substantial feedback or communication with the people who actually make those changes in the game.
Yeah, you're right.
You just
You're
don't
absolutely,
see that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, I play a lot of Asian MMOs first. I'm an Asian market streamer, and then I try to come out, with those games in NA and stream them in NA. And I get sponsored by a lot of the Asian companies that are developers. So, in the most recent one, I was sponsored by NetEase in China for Revelation, and I had a lot of communication back and forth with the developers there, because NetEase is the company developing it, and they're the company publishing it in China. And that game actually was very successful in China for a year and a half to 2 years before anything even came about it, right? And what happens is, when you have a game coming from an Asian market, and you sign up a publisher who, whether they're American, whether they're a different country, whatever it is, they're not the developer, and we lose a lot of communication with that, because there's a middleman now. And that's one of the things, and you're right, has drawn me to this game, is that the biggest thing that I feel more comfortable with, and what safety is, that the developers are the publishers in this case, which cuts out a complete middleman and a possible loss of communication because of that. Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. I'm glad they made that move. I'm so glad.
I really do like this emissary program that they've done. There's been some people who've critiqued it, but honestly, in this environment, what you have is the developer stepping forward to say, look, we want to communicate with you, but it's hard to communicate with all the 100,000, 200,000 people that typically play these kinds of games. We want to communicate to you, but there's also a bit of a language barrier, and there's a bit of a cultural barrier, which I'll get to in a few minutes here. But one of the things that allows them to, I think, have a better feedback on this is this emissary program. I think it'll take a little bit of sorting out here in a couple months before you kind of really get a fine control over it. But once it's set up, it really distills what the community is saying to people who understand the community, and then those people are directly communicating to the developers, directly communicating to the lead developers on those particular issues. I mean, I wish WoW had listened to their community like NeoWiz is trying to do here. This is very new, hasn't really been done before. So we're gonna watch this, and I'm not gonna be a sour apple. I'm gonna try and make this come out as sweet as I can. So yeah.
Yeah, I was very skeptical of Blessed, like I said at the beginning, and they've definitely done a lot of really, really professional things, respectful things to try to appease the community, and they're so far on the right track. I don't see them as a company, doing anything, to go against the community right now. especially like I said with the reputation in the past with the Russian servers. And the game itself is actually very enjoyable. I mean, there's a lot of different aspects of this game that everybody will love. I mean, I also played BDO, you know, and I was in all that stuff as well, and sponsored by Cacao and everything. And you know, BDO is a beautiful game. Problem with BDO is, you know, a lot of the players went in expecting to get every aspect of an MMO, and you know, BDO sadly had a lot of PvP oriented, you know, I guess goals at the end. And this, you know, Bless has a lot of PVE as well in it, and then it has a lot of crafting, a lot of you know, gathering and things like that, and a lot of PvP as well. And there's a lot of events in this game, so people, you know, are going to be really pleased with the fact that, you know, if you're whatever type of player you are, because some players don't just like 50% of this and 50% of that, you know, they might. I personally do not like crafting. I'm not a crafter. I really despise it, but I do it because in most cases you have to do a little bit of it just to kind of progress with your main character in other aspects of the game. So I do it, but I don't like it, right? So what for me, if a game only had all crafting in it, I would not want to play that game for long term, right? So, you know, Bless has a lot of everything, and they have a lot coming out that we, you know, many people don't know about. So this game is going to be updated every 3 to 6 months, you know, with major updates, and little patches will come out, you know, in between that. But this is something that they've clearly already stated, you know, and the combat itself is going to be upgraded in NA. So the combat that we see now, that, you know, if you watch me streaming or watch, you know, any of the other streamers on Twitch streaming, is completely different than what's going to be coming out. So
Absolutely, that's an important thing to point out. Is that if you've been watching Bless on Twitch or YouTube thus far, what you're seeing is the previous version. You're seeing the is it Japanese or Korean version?
it's Japanese.
It's both. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're seeing the previous version. Which is apparently significantly different than the version that is going to be coming out this coming week, which releases Monday for people who have the Founders Pack, and then Wednesday for everybody else, all other consumers. So let's dig down a little bit into what the aspects of this game are actually all about. So there are two major factions in the game.
Before we get into the factions, let's talk hardware, the servers, because this is actually, we're getting questions on the Discord about this too, on the official Discord for this.
Sure.
And so they're on Amazon servers, and there's people who are saying they haven't done any stress testing. We're going to see crashes. We're going to see all these issues. Now, Tez, you know how these Amazon servers work. If you want to give a big rundown on that, because people don't, I've been trying to explain them, like, this is not like other MMO companies. What other MMO companies have done in the past is their publisher either contracts or sets up their own servers, and then their servers are limited. They only have, you know, X number of them. So let's say 100. They have 100 servers that can handle a population load of, say, 100,000 people. Just rounding up numbers, not doing anything actually very specific here. And what would happen is, as soon as 110,000 people log onto the server, it crashes. And so then they have to kind of gate people logging in, and then there's these long lineup queues, and then there's also, you're running around inside the server, inside the shard, or what some people tend to call channels. And, you know, there's just too many people, and then it starts crashing here and it starts crashing there, and then sometimes the world server will crash while the instance servers, i.e. your dungeons or specialized like quest areas, will remain active. So the second you step outside of it before the servers back up, the world servers back up, you crash immediately. So all this kind of stuff has happened before. That is not the case with the way Amazon servers work. So I'll let you dig down on this, because you know these things, because you work with them in your day job. I'm familiar with them in my day job, but you actually work with them in your day job. So go on a tear.
Sure. I mean, well, yeah, I've gotten that question a lot in my stream, actually, is that, you know, when we go to, you know, play this game and download this game, you know, from Steam, what are we going to expect, right? Are we going to be sitting here for 12 hours trying to, you know, download this game? But people don't realize that, you know, one, you know, obviously we're going to have a compressed game to download, so it won't be as big as it is coming from a direct download. Secondly, you know, the Amazon servers that we're logging onto are going to be really, I guess, super, you know, supercharged, is what people don't realize. I mean, like, just like you said, I do work at my day job where we just switched over to Amazon servers a while ago, maybe like 2-3 months ago, and the thing with that is I didn't really realize how good they are until, I was obviously on them comparing them to other servers. So, and just like you said, there is a queue time, for other publishers and whatnot, and that's because there's, you reach a capacity where with these Amazon servers, there really isn't a capacity. There's an overflow with them, and they are top of the line servers where you're not going to have, lag and latency and optimization issues. These are things that Amazon's already done over the past year. They've been working on these servers, the AWS servers, for about a year now, and they fine-tuned it to a point now where they're able to offer it to large, technology companies like the one I work for, and we use them, and we don't see anything happen to them. I mean, we have not had we've had zero downtime since we've been using this. I mean, these servers, they've never gone down, and we've never had a problem where we have latency issues or things that we need to optimize on the server for our different programs and our applications that we have to use. So the Amazon servers, people are kind of like, okay, they haven't done stress testing and we've never used these servers before. Well, you might have never used them, or might have another game companies might have never yet used them. And I think all games companies should start using these servers because they're proven to be reliable, and they're proven to be stable versus what other game publishers have done, which is exactly what you said. They buy their own servers, or they try to do them themselves, or in some cases, which I've seen games do recently, is they will share the servers with another game that they are also publishing. That is the worst thing to ever do.
Oh,
I mean, it's horrible. So
you're ruining two game experiences at the same time. It's like, guys, come on.
That has actually been the norm for as of the past like 5 years, is what I've noticed with all these new games coming out, is that they share the servers with another game, that they have also published. And later they regret it and they try to put them on different servers, but by then the majority of the community has already left because the hype is gone, right? So I mean,
yes. Yeah.
Why do I want to keep playing on servers that aren't optimized for my character and my combos don't work? That's just dumb. It doesn't make sense. So here, NeoWiz actually did the smartest move they could have for us, and I really want people to realize that this is a company who's thinking about the future right here. If they put Amazon servers in here, they're thinking about the future, and they're thinking about longevity in this game. They're not trying to just do a cash grab, a money grab here and bounce out. This company wants to actually be here and have the community in a large population, not leave them. So they're doing everything they can to do this, and that's being proven right now.
Yeah, and because also that, like, people's jobs are on the line with this. It's not like a publisher where the publisher doesn't really care about what the developer is doing. And in some cases, not all cases, there are good publishers out there, but for the most part, the developers are having there's some distance there between them and the public, whereas it's immediate here. And also NeoWiz, and this kind of goes to how I know somebody a couple of people who work at NeoWiz. I started working with them on a secondary project about 5 years ago when Bless was in its early development stages, and so they were talking about how progress was going on this game, and these are real people. They need this job, and NeoWiz has spent a lot of money on this, and if this flops hard again, they're going to be in trouble. Right. Financially. Their studio was running at about 600. That's 600 people they gotta feed, that they have to give pay their bills with and that kind of stuff. So this is pretty big. The other thing with the other thing, and this is a very interesting aspect on these Amazon servers as well, is that what happens in some MMOs sometimes is that the new server goes up and a flood of new players are connecting to these servers from these other games, these other MMOs. And what's happening is that all this traffic is being directed to a brand new place. Now, in what happens with local ISPs is sometimes when there's a flood of traffic going to one place, it raises alarm bells, especially when it starts chewing up their bandwidth, like what happens when you're playing, an MMO that takes a lot of, first of all, you're downloading a ton of data from them, and you're starting to clog up the local ISP as far as the traffic goes. And so what sometimes happens is these alarm bells go up, and then they start to limit or start to moderate the control access to that particular port on that particular server at that particular IP through the local traffic. And this isn't a server issue. This is a traffic local ISP issue. And what happens is that kills a lot of connectivity to these games. But again, with this new Amazon server, these are servers that people have been contacting for months and months already via if you do anything with anything that's even remotely connected to Amazon, you're connecting to these exact same servers.
So it's not going to raise that red flag of.
So it's not going to raise that red flag. The traffic is going to be it's a super highway that's not going to suddenly have a bunch of lane closures because they think that it has something to do with somebody porting data that they shouldn't be, or it's not raising those alarm bells. It's not raising those flags. And so what we'll see here is, I suspect we will see for the first time ever an actual smooth launch as far as hardware and server stability goes.
Interesting.
So this is really huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if this goes off without a hitch, and if people actually notice, especially in the industry, I've been in the industry for a while now, and these are things that only really developers take note of. The gaming public does not remember this stuff. Like, I hear constantly over and over again how, this MMO and that MMO and this game experience and that game experience was great, and there were no problems with day one stability or anything like that. And I'm like, you guys are idiots. I mean, you're literal idiots. You can't remember how in WoW there was this bug with the NPCs in the game where some of them would just evade constantly forever and just hunt you down no matter where you went. You would just have this cat on you constantly clawing at you until you died. And the only way to prevent that was to die or log out for 5 minutes, which the server stability was so bad that if you did that, there was a good chance that you couldn't log back in for another 2 to 3 hours.
Yep.
And people don't remember this stuff. They remember this stuff in these rose-colored glasses looking back on it. It's like, no. It's these experiences are commonplace to everything that has ever launched. The only time that these MMOs have not had bad launches is when the game is so poorly received that nobody's playing it.
Reminds me when I was over at a friend's place and they were like, I'm going to bust out my old Atari. And we sat down to play it, and it was like, wow, this is janky AF. So, what were you saying there, Taz?
I was just saying, people don't realize also that, they have like this stigma about, all these game launches because, I mean, name a game launch that's really gone well in the past 10 years, right? It's very hard to. I'm not saying you can't. You might be able to name a couple, but it's very hard to. So, and I don't think people have realized that AWS servers have been used for gaming before, but not to the extent, of now, right? Like as far as they've never really been used until, starting to in the past year or two.
Mm-hmm.
So people don't realize that, and they automatically just jump the gun and say, well, the servers are going to crash. Is this going to happen? This is going to happen. So, and it's a lot of it is because of past experiences, that they have had. So I think once this game comes out on the AWS servers, they're going to really realize that, wow, this is a really smooth server experience. And just like, Artix had said in the channel there in the chat, that, Overwatch has millions of players and they're running AWS servers, but Bless is not going to have millions and millions and millions of players right off the bat because, like I said, it's got something to overcome from previous, Russia servers that, there's not this hype about, Bless yet. But I think once the game comes out and people realize, wow, this is actually a pretty solid game, pretty stable game. It doesn't have a lot of problems. Everything is pretty balanced. I think we're going to see a lot more influx of players from other games switch over, after the 30th. So that's something that's going to happen too. And even then, the AWS servers will be easily prepared to handle any kind of mass influx of people coming in.
Well, and I hope that if this turns out to be a really solid, really good game, then that we can be proud to be emissaries of and put content out for. Hopefully they will get a good influx of players. There's a lot of people, like there's Anjay in the chat saying he'll check it out if once he's seeing the content for it and seeing if it looks good. He's looking for something huge, fresh, and new, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And
well, let me talk to the huge, fresh, and new. So huge, this game is definitely fresh. I think that you will find this a little bit refreshing. But as far as new, I've been saying this for years now in the podcast that you will not get a new MMO experience until we hit a new level of VR,
Yeah.
essentially. Because the thing is about this is that like some people are like somebody was commenting the other day is like, well, this VR chat world is brand new. I've never seen anything like it. I'm like, well, clearly you never played Second Life back 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
I love
Like,
Second Life.
Yeah, so there is nothing strictly new that you can get in games as they are right now. You can get new story and new experience, and you can get something that is endearing and lovable, like God of War, or you can get something that is a new genre and a new concept, which is what we're going to see from Cyberpunk 2077. But you're not going to get that new gaming experience, that jump that we had from 2D flat DOS based games
Yeah.
to when we suddenly had 3D shooters. Like, that jump was amazing, and that has been that's the only technological leap that video game industry has had, other than some VR implemented stuff, which Saberbeat, this new game that just came out, is amazing, makes you feel like a Jedi, but essentially there's nothing new to it. That's built on the same kind of core concept that VR has been sitting in for a really long time. It's just now it's fully realized. We won't get something brand new. So this is where I say, curb your expectations for what things are. Learn to accept things as they are. It's like I always love these movie review people who go to watch the latest Transformers movie and go, I'm sorry, I was expecting a love story between a struggling youth breaching into his adulthood and finding an ability to connect with an emotional driven story. It's like, no, you go to Transformers to watch robots beat on each other.
Yep.
Like,
yeah, I agree. Fully agree.
So there's this level that you can't don't expect too much. And what we have had with BDO and ArcAge, these two more recent games that have come out, is that they've kind of failed in the sense that they promised too much. Bless is not promising anything brand new. They're not promising a brand new experience. What they're promising is if you liked WoW, if you liked going on dungeons, if you like connecting two people in this game world, this is what they're going to offer, and this is what they're going to connect you with. And I think that what they've done is a really, really good job of it. We will see officially when with the new combat and all the new changes that are going to come out in the next 2 days here. We will see that. We will see it. We will experience it, and then we'll kind of know where to go from there. But I'm asking people is like, have an open mind and don't judge things too harshly. There's lots of games that I don't enjoy playing. I don't judge them harshly because it has a game mode. We were quite critical on a certain game reviewer who reviewed Zelda, and he gave Zelda a bad review because it contained a core concept, like a core thing in the game, like a pillar of that kind of gameplay, because he did not enjoy it. It's like somebody giving a racing game a bad review because he doesn't like racing car games. It's like, then don't fucking review it.
I want to address something that it's been in the chat right now.
Go ahead. Yeah.
And so I get that. So we've all been lied to before, many times by game developers, by game publishers, and
Absolutely.
I gotta tell you, like I said, I was not even on board with Bless here at all for a long time. Okay, because of that fact, and because I've seen what happened in Russia. And one of the things you gotta understand is that this company is going above and beyond to prove that they're going to respect the community's wishes and whatnot as far as credibility goes. Yeah, the game failed twice, but it didn't fail twice due to pay-to-win items, right? It failed twice because of combat issues and the lack of, I guess, them, having the proper resources, whatever it's going to be in the time frame that maybe people wanted it. And at the time, there were also a lot of other games coming out, so people just jumped ship without really giving it a chance. So you can't really go by that, okay, as far as credibility goes. But when you're looking at credibility, as far as now, what have they done so far is what you got to look at. Have they done the right? Do you see signs? Do you see red flags right now? I've stayed in this game thus far, not leaving it because I have not seen the red flags I normally see with every single other game that I've played in the past 5 6 years. I don't see them, and I'm looking for them. I want to see them, but I don't see them, and it's really I guess like kind of making me. It's kind of giving me a weird feeling, but it's like, well, I mean, am I being played? Am I not being played? But I can't. I don't have any facts to back up anything, and the company so far has actually done all of that. And to address the other question, which was, WoW players, WoW has had 14 million subscriptions, and then it's gone down to 7 million players. So, I mean, you have 7 million players right there that aren't playing WoW, right, anymore, that were subscribed and no longer are. So, Bless doesn't have to take every single WoW player. It doesn't have to take every Final Fantasy player. I play Final Fantasy still. And that's the one thing, there's a plenty of people out there who can come to Bless that will easily support Bless and be able to fund Bless as far as keeping the servers up and whatnot. I mean, what people don't realize is you don't actually need millions and millions and millions of players to play your game to keep it successful. I mean, Final Fantasy has about 1.5 billion. That's it. So, I mean, if we have a couple 100,000 or a 1 million, for example, that is more than enough for NeoWiz to keep the servers up and keep them pumping and give us new content updates. I mean, obviously, if there's only one player playing the game, then that's a different story. But
Yeah.
there's a line that they know their profit and margin loss as a company, right? And by the way, guys, the quarterly profits for any company, any gaming company, are always public knowledge. So every quarter, you guys can see their track record and see what they're doing as far as the profits. And if we see obviously an upward growth in profits, then we know that we're going to get content updates and patches and things like that, right? If we see it decrease a little bit, most companies will usually eat that cost. They don't care. So long as the game is still active and there's people in it, they're not going to worry about it. So when you see a quarterly profit, go down 90% in profit for the second quarter, then sure, maybe at that point, they might say, hey, we got to do something. Either we got to put some items in that's going to draw the whales or whatever it's going to be. But at this point, we can't say that, and we don't have any kind of indication that that's going to happen. And in fact, we have an indication that won't happen because they've clearly stated officially that they are not going to put in pay to win items. A lot of other companies will leave that open ended. They will leave that open ended like Black Desert did. Black Desert left that open ended, and then later in 4 months they said, "Well, we never really said that. We worded it this way."
100%.
And it left it open to possibly put in pay to win items. This company NeoWiz has actually, literally, officially said it. They will not put in pay to win items ever. So I mean, right there, you can hold that to them, And as far as monetary goes, you can hold that to them. So you can always get everything charged back because that's fraud, under the American Consumer Act.
Right,
Yes.
absolutely. That's a very, very good point. And I mean, I do understand some of the skepticism that's coming from the chat right now with regard to all of this, because we're in an era where we're having a difficult time trusting some game companies with the whole EA loot box stuff, and it seems everybody is going to this pay-to-win model. But as somebody else pointed out in the chat, and there's just so many messages, I'm having trouble keeping up with it all right now. This is actually really great to see. Who is publishing the game is a very important thing, and I want to touch on
huge part of the game.
I just want to touch on this because there's a big difference between saying the EA model and say the CD Projekt Red model, where they part of their business model is actually maintaining creative control and publishing their own games. And so they have complete control over how the game goes out, what features are implemented, and whether or not there's, microtransactions and stuff like that. You see a big difference when there's a company like, for example, you see Bethesda, which is a publisher, as well as a game developer. But they're a very gamer centric company, very much.
They're also a public company, and they have to. And this is where the thing with the paid mods thing works. It's like,
well, I was going to say, it's when you see when their overarching company, when ZeniMax gets involved, that's where we get these these things that are not good for the consumer, the things that gamers don't like. And so the fact that this MMO is being self-published by the developers, that gives me a lot of hope for it. And obviously, we have to wait and see how well it actually does. But yeah, so far it seems like there's quite a bit to be hopeful for, and it's the first MMO that I've been interested in playing in some time. So I definitely want to dive into talking about the actual mechanics of the game in a sec. But first, I just want to say that we love seeing the chat so active today. It's fantastic. If you want to keep the conversation going after the live broadcast, we welcome you to join our Discord community. You can find the link in the description below. It's a place where you can chat with us, chat with other Triple S fans about all the things we're doing, things we love to talk about, meet people to game with, stay up to date about everything we're doing at the Triple S League, and there's lots of great conversations happening there all the time. And actually, I've really been enjoying just hanging out in the general chat room there, hearing about what people have been doing on their weekends, things like that. That we had one user was out on a bike trip and was just sending us photos of a beautiful morning where he was, and so things like that. I'm loving the community that's being built there. So I recommend all of you click the link in the description and join up there.
Tez, this is really good, and I know you have to go soon. And oh my goodness, we ate up so much time with this. Quickly, can you give us, because this is the one thing that I have been agonizing over in the last couple weeks. Can you give us a quick rundown with the last few minutes before you get a run
Sure.
between the factions? I do not
Sure.
know which one to pick. So if you can give us a quick rundown on that, that'll help, because that's the biggest choice coming up.
I don't know what I'm going to be upon launch as of yet, as far as faction goes. But in Japan right now, I've been playing Union side, and so you have Union side versus Hiron side. And I love faction games. I've always loved faction PvP. In Black Desert we didn't have it, and I was really disappointed that we didn't have faction PvP in Black Desert. But faction PvP is always fun because it adds a different element to your PvP. You can PvP within your own faction and bless as well by your guild declaring a war declaration against another guild, which is limited, by the way, too, unlike Black Desert. So you can only do so many per week, and it only lasts an hour or two per day. I forget what the exact time is, but so it does limit it. So this way you're not just camping another guild for a long time. And I do like that aspect as well. But then there's the whole other aspect, which is, hey, I can go PvP the other faction in the other side. So there's this whole group of people and this whole area that I can go try to kill, right? So faction PvP is going to be there. And right now, when the game comes out, we have what's called capital sieges. And capital sieges are, you basically try to take your capital of your faction against the rest of your faction. And in the future, they have already talked about the, faction versus faction sieging, where you're going to actually be able to take different towns across the whole map between two factions. And at that point, it's going to be your faction versus their faction trying to, get little towns and things like that. So faction versus faction PvP is always going to be fun, guys. I mean, it's a really good thing. It adds a different element to your PvP as a whole. And then there's also obviously tons of other PvP in the game with your arenas and the tower defense game that's coming out. And then you have your PvE on that aspect too, right? So PvE is going to be your dungeons and raids. I love that they added a 10-man raid, and I'm hoping in the future that they add more of like a mythic style raid, because I love WoW's mythic style raids still to this day. It's one of the things I really do like about WoW is that they brought Mythic out, which adds a challenging level to your raid to the point where you can't just clear it in a couple hours or a day. The 10-man raid that's in there right now is basically like one of WoW's starter 10-man raids or 20-man raids now. It's not that hard. Everybody should be able to do it. Shouldn't take you more than a day, if that even. And I'm hoping they add on to that where they add a 10-man raid that's a hard mode or like a mythic mode that's going to take us a week to clear. That's what I'm hoping.
So, how much time am I going to need to put in if I want to be reasonably successful at this game, and have a good experience with it?
Well, that's really good. That's a really good question, because I've gotten that a lot too, and people are like, "Oh, is it going to be grindy? Is it going to be this?" No, it's not. I mean, it's a very, very simple game to play. I mean, I played it and I was like, wow, this is actually really simple for me to get level and to get my items and stuff. It's not like you're grinding for your items. I mean, there are things you're going to have to grind for, but your initial base armor, your base weapon, and your levels it comes to you relatively between a 3 to 5 day period of you just playing the game a couple hours a day. I mean, if you play 2 to 5 hours a day, you can easily be cap level, have full set of blue gear, your blue weapon, and then from there, then is when you have to obviously start kind of min-maxing your character. And what min-maxing is, if for those of you who don't know it, is getting the little fine tuning on each of your pieces of armor or the runes that you buy or the enchant upgrades, right? So, you don't want a +0 bow. You want a +15 bow, and then you want to awaken that bow. So
Okay.
that's obviously what you want to do. That's the min-maxing, and that's where you're going to find you might have to start playing, not necessarily more than 2 to 5 hours a day, but that's when you're going to have to start focusing on exactly what you need to do to get that task done, which is a little bit of a grind. And in my opinion, that's not really a grind per se. It's more you're just all you're doing is just setting your mind to something and doing it.
Well, yeah.
Well, the other thing that's interesting with that is it also depends on what you want to do.
Correct.
Having been a long time MMO player, I have known many people. Ash and I know a fellow who used to play MMOs only to play the market. He got his average character to about level 5 or 10, and then would sit and play the market till he had about 1 million gold, which was like he cap himself on the gold cap for that character, and then he was done. He was done with the game for about 6 months to a year later. He'd come back and he'd do it again from scratch. He just accumulate gold and go, look at how much gold I've accumulated.
And this game has that for those type of players, by the way. The gold in this game is not. So when I went from 1 to 45 in Japan, and by the time I was done my level at 45, I only had 45 gold. That's it. 45 gold itself. So, and I look at the auction house, and there's items on the auction house that are 600 gold, 1,200 gold. And I'm like, how the heck am I going to get this gold? Like, well, that's something that, if I had maybe played the market or been that person that plays the market, I might have amassed more gold, right? Or over a longer period of time, I might be able to get that gold. So in the beginning, if somebody, comes in and wants to just do the market, there is a place for them in this game. There's a place for everybody in this game. I mean, you don't have to actually have a +15 bow and +15 armor. If you want to come in and just get your basic blue armor, be level 45, have a good time with your friends, do dungeons every day, do, a little bit of PvP every day, you can. You're not going to have to actually be +15 to enjoy the game and do certain content and things like that. So
if you want to dance naked on the top of a mailbox,
Sure.
You know what? That doesn't
well.
take any time or effort at all.
Exactly.
It's a simple jump up and then /dance. And there you go.
The only thing that there is not in this game is fishing, like somebody just said in the chat, which I am happy about because I'm not a fishing fan. There are other mini games that you can play in this game. There's also pet taming, which has not been around in a game for a while. The last game I played that had pet taming was Riders of Icarus, and that didn't do too well. But pet taming is amazing in this game. You walk up to pretty much anything in the world can be either tamed or used or mounted. There are a few exceptions, but it's very few. We're talking like less than 5. So everything you can pretty much check out, and there's a simple way to tell that. And if people watch your streams or checked out guides, I mean, if a mob has a butterfly next to its name, it can be tamed as a pet. If it has a wheel next to its name, it can be tamed as a mount. So and the pets themselves, it's actually a little bit of it's not just, okay, I'm going to get this pet to look pretty. You can get the pet and then upgrade the pet to basically actually have skills on the pets that carry over to you, like almost like a passive buff. Kind of cool.
Interesting.
Kind of cool. Yeah.
So for someone like me that is interrupted by little kids often, and often need to get pulled away from my computer to go do things in the middle of a game. Is that going to be a problem for me?
Not at all.
No,
not at all. Bless is a very, very, and this is what I was trying to say earlier. Is I play the game. It's very simple. It's very laid back, simple. I mean, you have to go. I've had the same issue where when my kids were younger, I'd have to jump off of a game, and if I jumped off that game, I might have lost some progression over somebody else and things like that. And I'm pretty competitive. In this game, that's not really going to happen. I mean, you have to go take a 5-minute break. Go take a 5-minute break, chill out, whatever it is. You're not going to get PK'd, if you're in your faction area, right, town, unless you're obviously war decked against somebody. And then you're also not going to lose a ton over everybody else. So, I mean, it's a really, really very fun, easy, relaxed game to play. And there are harder elements to the game, but that's up to you if you choose to do those harder elements. Like I said, with the min-maxing and everything. So you don't have to do that.
Absolutely. Well,
yeah, I'm a vanilla Nax raider, so oh man, I miss those 40-mans. I miss those 40-mans so much.
I hated the 40-mans. Couldn't stand them.
Speaking of which, somebody in our Fortnite stream last night, somebody was saying that they're going to be bringing back Vanilla WoW servers.
Yes.
Do you guys know anything about that?
Yeah, they are.
I know. We'll talk about that.
Yeah, that's
once
coming out with
BlizzCon. Once BlizzCon rolls around, we're gonna have a long podcast about that.
And I don't know how that's going to do, because that's going to, a lot of people actually didn't like the 40-man raids because of the fact, not because the 40-man raids were great themselves. The problem is getting 40 people today
that was the
is
difficult
going to be the issue, because
But
it
that
started
was-
becoming an issue back then, so that's why they got rid of it.
That was the challenge for me. I led a bunch of those 40-mans, including when I left a very large famous guild after it disbanded. I moved to a no-name server and was able to string together these 40 people from across all of the guilds that ended up becoming one of the top 100 guilds in the game. So like worldwide, and we had several world firsts, and that was because that was the challenge to me. I already knew I could do the content. I could do the content blindfolded at that point. The challenge and the fun in the MMO became what kind of team can I build, and what kind of people can I put together, and can I get those people to work together?
It's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out with them coming back with the 40-man raids, and if people are going to be like, well, we didn't really like them back in the day, that's why we wanted to get rid of them, but now we haven't done them in so long. I think it's going to be good for a little bit. It's going to be new, but we're going to have the same issue, and today's MMO gamer and market, it's really tough to get even 20 people together for Mythic. So I think people are going to be pretty disappointed when it comes down to it. And I think they're going to shrink it down to 20 or 25 right away.
I hope not. And this is what I've been saying for a very long time, is that you have a little bit of a window, especially for good teams. You have a window of, like, you can have 10 people AFK and put somebody on auto follow if you're a really good guild.
Yes,
you can.
Yes, you can.
And that's what I enjoyed about the content, is because it was also not. It's when they started to push, when they brought it down to 20, and then they forced those 20 players to play perfectly.
Yep.
That's where they lost the community aspect, because you couldn't, quote unquote, carry people who weren't good enough in certain areas, but they were great in other areas. And hell, I mean, we took along some people just for comedic effect while we were running these things. And you don't, as soon as the 20-mans hit, and as soon as the heroics hit, and as soon as the mythics hit, that was out the window. You can't stop and be funny and have a guy do a 40-minute stand-up routine while you're doing Naxxramas, and actually have, it went from fun to being a job at that point. That one move made it. Anyways, do you have to still run?
I do have to go, and on a lot of us emissaries are going to be giving out founders packs for the Bless game. So definitely check out the streams tonight, tomorrow night, and Monday morning. I know my stream tonight, tomorrow night, and Monday morning is going to be giving out a lot of founders packs and the collector's edition pack.
Absolutely.
So all the other emissaries are going to be doing the same. We've all gotten that. So definitely jump into the other emissaries channels as well, because they will be giving out packs. And a lot of the non-emissaries, I do know, are giving out packs. They bought them with their own money, which is amazing. That this community is that, I guess, amazing in the sense that the community really, really cares about the players. Even if they didn't get emissary, they're still chipping in and trying to help out and getting people to play this game. So and all the emissaries really appreciate them, and all the non-emissaries as well. So check us out tonight. Like I said, tonight, tomorrow night, and the Monday morning. We'll be there.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Yep. See you guys next week.
Absolutely.
All right. Awesome. Thank you so much, and we'll see you in game, eh?
Yep. Definitely. Thanks. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.
Take care. All right. So I didn't get to ask my final question of him, which was, will there be a running of the gnomes? That's what I really want to know.
That of course there will be a running of the gnomes. We have to have that.
Is there a gnome race? I don't know. I know there's some small races.
Yeah, there's a smaller race it's sort of the gnome race. So
HTK Gaming in chat says, you guys are the best birth control ever. Well, thanks. I don't know how to take that. I don't know. I've heard that the ladies love guys who listen to the Augmented Reality podcast. So
absolutely.
You might want to take that with a grain of salt. Elfs TV asks, will we continue to cover Bless with podcasts like this, or is it mainly pre-release and a couple of weeks afterward? Well, we are going to be doing some continued coverage of Bless for the next while. It really depends on how the game does, how much we enjoy it, and factors like that. But I will be streaming it Monday night on my regular Monday night stream. which starts right here at 6 p.m. Pacific time on Monday. And come around for that. There will probably be some giveaways. We haven't discussed that yet, but I'm going to go on a limb and say that we'll be giving something away.
we have a lot of copies to give away, so we're definitely going to be doing that.
Oh, you meant how our kids, HTK clarify. I meant how your kids get in the way of gaming. They're worth it. They are worth it. I still have tons of time to game.
Oh darn! I used to have a picture of a couple gaming, and so he's sitting facing his computer, and then she's sitting in his lap, reversed, looking behind him where the back of his head is. So their cheeks are basically together, and they're gaming on two computers that are facing each other essentially.
Okay, I think we can all.
So I was gonna say, I had to cough there, so I had to mute my mic. So what I was saying there is like, gaming doesn't always lead to birth control. Just saying, throwing that out there.
And I've known quite a few people who have met their significant others playing an MMO, and then they get together and play together, and it's no longer the single basement dwelling antisocial person's domain of activities. That's for sure, and that's wonderful.
I used to always play with this one girl who always played as a guy, and I always played as a girl. So it was a funny matchup when we'd get together and be a little flirtatious. It was really funny. So anyways, moving on to some other subjects. So I know you're all dying for the Cyberpunk info, so let's quickly cover that because frankly there's not a lot we can actually say on this one. But what I'm going to refer you to is a bunch of other stuff, and then I'm going to refer to some things, and then we will let you guys put 2 and 2 together. So, did you have anything you want to add before we hit on this?
Nope, go ahead. Take it and run.
All right. So, as you all know, CD Projekt Red is going to they are going to E3 this year, and there's a lot of talk that they're going to be showing off their Gwent stuff, and they're not going to be showing off Cyberpunk 2077. And that's kind of what there's some very popular rumors going on around that, but basically what I want to say, and I'm pulling up this article here. There was a fellow who came out quite recently and said that he was going to go to E3 to join an hour-long closed-door meeting or presentation by CDPR on Cyberpunk 2077. We cannot confirm nor deny that this is existing. However, we do have some wonderful news that Mad Queen is in fact headed out to E3 this year. She's going to be attending E3, and this was quite sudden. We were originally going to have a team of about 5 people headed there. We now have a team of 6 people headed there. So we will be working with Mad Queen and Upper Echelon as they go to E3. Mm-hmm. And
so we should let's just lay that out quickly. So we are. I'm not sure if we've ever laid this out clearly what we're actually doing for E3. So we are partnering with Upper Echelon Gamers and with the Mad Queen show. And you've heard the Mad Queen on our podcast many times. She's quite the expert on Cyberpunk 2077. Anyway, so Chris from Upper Echelon is actually going to E3 to be on the floor doing interviews with 4 other members of his team and circle of content creators. And the Mad Queen also decided this week that she is going to be at E3, so she's going to be there as well. We are going to be communicating with her. Now, us at the Triple S League, and to answer your question, Elfs TV, there are 3 of us here at the Triple S League. We all stream right here on this channel. So it's myself, Ash, Cyb, and our intern Kiri. We all stream. We have game streams every weeknight, plus the podcast here on Saturday mornings. But anyway, we are going to be sort of... we have Jamie, too, who does some editing and other stuff for us. But we're going to be back here at, I guess you'd call it home base. We're not going to be physically there at E3. We're going to be here editing interviews, doing live streams, talking to them back and forth, hopefully having live conversations with Mad Queen and the upper echelon folks while they're doing their interviews and everything at E3. So it's going to be a very, very busy time, but it's going to be very, very super exciting, and we're hyped for it.
Yes. So, so that being said, we're still not allowed to really talk about this, what they're actually going there to do. However, I will make it clear that we wouldn't be investing a lot of time, money, and energy into going to this E3 if there wasn't a guarantee of something substantial being there this year from our favorite developers, such as Bethesda and such as CDPR, and that a single large event would not be worth it. However, 2 events might be. We can't confirm nor deny that there's any kind of special thing showing up. So that's where I have to leave it there. I hate being coy, and I'm really bad at it too. I'm terrible at being coy. Yeah.
So,
but
expect big things.
That's
what
we've
saying.
got. So
yeah.
Also, as far as I've been saying for a really long time, we are definitely going to see one more big drop of info before E3. I suspected that they would be dropping something right before E3. Now that may be right up before E3 actually physically starts on the 10th. Sorry, the 11th. On the 11th, E3 officially starts on the 11th. So that may be the 8th or the 9th or the 10th, running right up to that. But we will definitely be seeing something cool from CDPR, and that's been my original calling of what we were going to see, which has been pretty dead on, actually.
And Remedy, no, we're saying more than that. We're not just saying CD Projekt Red's going to be at E3.
No, read between the lines.
You have to kind of, yeah.
You have to read between the lines on this one, and I know it's I hate doing it, and I do make fun of other websites who tend to do this. I logged on this morning, and I saw another article from another company that said, "Look at this full list of games at E3 this year coming from Bethesda." Full list. I was like, oh, full list, eh? So again, only one thing has been officially announced from Bethesda, and that is Rage 2. So I click on the article, and their full list is just Rage 2. That's full list. You mean the one item? The one item that you know is going to be there because it was announced?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so
yeah, no, we are not saying Cyberpunk is out tomorrow. Think about this though. The Mad Queen.
Remedy.
Mad Queen is going to E3.
Yes.
Just think about that for a sec, and it'll probably become clear what we're trying to say without saying it. So let's. But before we fumble anymore, let's move on to a couple other E3 things. Now we got some. You had mentioned just before we got on here that you wanted to talk a little bit about E3 security.
So E3 security has been updated. They just sent out an update, and it was quite sudden and a little bit jarring because they didn't bring this out like when they started selling tickets like 2-3 months ago. They brought this out today, or late yesterday on the Friday, and basically they've been saying so for E3 their security measures have basically just gone through the roof. You can't bring in backpacks at all. No backpacks. Very small bags will be allowed inside the convention hall, and you will have to go through a pretty big security wing in order to actually get into the convention period. So this is interesting, not to be not expected, because
Now
you
that
know
they're allowing the general public, it
yeah,
seems like this is.
yeah, but this is kind of a times that we're living in kind of thing. So yeah, it's interesting to sit back and look at this. So what this means is that either they've just generally decided to bump up the security, or there's been some things that have led them to believe that there's some cause for concern. So we hope it's not that. We hope it's the former, that they're just generally bumping up security. However, this will make, if you're going to E3, this will make your E3 stay a lot more difficult and annoying. But yeah, so we'll see how that goes. I feel very sorry for cosplayers and other people who are going there, who are going to try and spend a day checking everything out, when you can walk in with only stuff in your pockets and that's it. So
Now, they do give you a swag bag, though, that you can carry stuff in.
Yeah, and you can use stuff in the swag. You can use your swag bag as your quote unquote backpack, but it's at the same time it's it's gonna be rough. E3 is not fun to go to. It's fun to watch, but it is not actually fun to go to, especially now that they've added public passes without basically checking to see if somebody is actually part of the media. I've been to some of these, and it's rough, and it seems like it's only going to be getting more rough in the years to come. So,
Well, that's unfortunate. I guess they do what they have to do, though. All right, so we are running short on time, so let's quickly talk about the PS5.
So the PS5's the head CEO at the company basically was in a investors thing, and when asked and was discussing the PS4, said that the PS4 is in its final years. It's winding
its
down.
Final phase. They're not going to be doing anymore.
Sorry, not years. It's in its final phase. So basically, from contacts that I have, we confirmed this a couple months ago when we started talking about it. I think it was in February, that they're winding down production on the PS4s, that they don't intend to sell. They intend to empty out the last inventory that they have, essentially. But this is a little bit different than what you would see before. And even the pros have been they've really stuttered and cut back on the ordering of additional PS4 Pros. So this is pretty big for people who, again, are saying that we are not going to get a new PlayStation until 2022 or 2025. You people really don't understand. They're cutting production. If they're cutting production, that means that in 2 years, 3 years, or 4 years from now, you're going to go out and get a new PS4 because yours broke. There's not going to be one. If they're cutting production this year, this means that this is officially heading down the sink now, as far as the production and the planning. What does this mean for the PlayStation 5? This means that the PlayStation 5 is most likely going to be hitting 2020, 2019. There's still a chance that it could be surprised this year. They said, oh no, we're not having hardware announcements, but I mean, people lie when they're doing these pre-press events. Of course they don't. If it's going to be a surprise thing, which companies do like to try to experiment with every once in a while, that might be a thing. But what we're seeing here is we're seeing movement towards the PS5 within the next 2 year cycle. So within the next 24 months, we're definitely going to see a reveal, I think, for the PlayStation 5, and even possibly within that 24-month period, have it officially come out. So my money is on either this November or next November. 2019 most likely is when we will see it. 2019 is also their 25th anniversary. They also have the PlayStation Experience convention that's happening, and I think an announcement and a showcase is probably a great idea for that time if you're lining it up. So this is leaning more and more this way for people who are saying 2022. If the lead CEO is saying, yeah, we're wrapping up on it. Wrapping up on it does not mean 5 more years. It means it means that it's probably in late stages of production. So yeah, just throwing that out there, just because I wanted to follow up with the story from February and I wanted to get a good feel on it. So,
okay. And unfortunately, we have had sad news this week that we'd be remiss if we didn't mention. Of course, if you're not aware, game critic John Bain went by the aliases Totalbiscuit and the Cynical Brit, sadly passed away this week at the age of 33 after a several-year battle with cancer. It is, it's very sad to see a significant member of the community get taken so young. So all our condolences and thoughts are with his wife, who had a very touching tribute to him on Twitter this past week. He was a significant member of the community. He was a consumer advocate as well. Saib, you were mentioning some of the things that he pushed for on behalf of consumers.
Yes. So he started the whole "don't stop pre-ordering" movement. He really did start that.
The stop pre-ordering things.
Yeah, he really did. He really was one of the people who really started that movement going. Big advocate for consumer rights. He had. I disagreed with him on some stuff. There was some stuff that he that I didn't necessarily think was right from my perspective, but that's only my perspective, and we live in a world where you can talk and discuss. And the reason why I mention this is that if you go to his wife's Twitter page, there are dozens upon dozens upon dozens upon dozens of people leaving the most disgusting, vile comments about him and his passing. And I just want to say that when somebody dies of cancer and they kind of tried to walk the middle of the road, it's like, how much of a dirtbag do you have to be to, dance on his grave? Like, you don't have to agree with everything anybody says, but when somebody dies young and horribly, why go to that extent of dancing on their grave? That just seems like, I guess it's the internet. So yeah, I just want to say that when you disagree with a critic, I disagree with a lot of stuff that some of the other critics throw out there, and I openly mock what a lot of them do. But John tried I can honestly say I think John tried his best, and he should be remembered for that.
Being an advocate for consumers, a very, very significant member of the community who had positive effects. So, rest in peace, John Totalbiscuit Bain. Sorry to end on a sad note today, folks.
Well, let's end on a little bit of a happier note. I have just received confirmation that Mad Queen has not received an NDA, so we can definitely say that Mad Queen is going to see something Cyberpunk related at the CDPR room at E3. So that's about half of what we were trying not to say. The other half is stuff that we for sure can't say. But the one half is that Mad Queen has just received official notification that she has not had to sign an NDA. So when she stated that she's going to CDPR to see CDPR at E3 to see something containing or to do with Cyberpunk 2077, we can now officially say that because it hasn't been NDA called. So this is good. So yes, if you're excited to see that, then this is good news. So let's end on a happy note.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you everybody so much for being with us today, for sticking with us through this entire show. We appreciate your support of this show and the great conversation that it takes place in the chat. I want to especially thank our Patreon supporters today, Old Man Manson and our 2 anonymous, amazing, wonderful Patreon supporters. Don't forget to like and sub if you appreciate this weekly content. If you're listening after the fact on SoundCloud, we thank you for your follows and likes. On iTunes, we thank you for subscribing and for reviewing our show. And hey, feel free to join us next Saturday, 8 a.m. Pacific time and 11 a.m. Eastern time for the live show where you can interact with us and other listeners and be a part of the discussion. And by the way, if you wouldn't mind taking a moment to hit that like button, that absolutely helps it helps us out in the it shows YouTube that you appreciate this content, basically, and it helps the algorithms to see us. The Augmented Reality Podcast is a presentation of the Triple S League. Check out our YouTube channel for game guides, reviews, comedy, news updates, and tons more quality gaming content. My name is Ashenity. On behalf of Cybsidian, thank you so much for listening, and we will talk to you next week.
Smash the like button and check us out as we play Bless Online starting Sunday, maybe even Sunday night, but
Monday
definitely
at the latest,
Monday to the latest. So we'll see you then. Love you guys. Thank you so much.